So if you're like me, you have had no shortage of business ideas. I get ideas when I'm in the car, I get ideas when I'm eating dinner, I get ideas in line at Starbucks. So how do you figure out if your business idea is worth the time that you're gonna have to put into it in order to make back your money and make it worthwhile? So if you've got a business idea, here's how to go about figuring if it's worth your time. First of all, you need to know what your time is worth. Second, you need to figure out how long it's gonna take you to break even. And third, you need to know what's best case scenario if this all plays out so that you know what's at the end of the rainbow if everything works like it should. So let's go through these. Number one, what's your time worth? So first of all, you can do a real simple math calculation if you figure out, here's what I wanna make on an annual basis. Here's a salary I wanna make. Let's say it's $100,000 a year. That's the salary that you'd love to make, your dream salary. Now, if you take that and divide it by the number of hours that you want to work in the year, it's a very simple math equation. So there's 2,080 actual working hours in a year if you do 40-hour weeks. If you're willing to work more than 40-hour weeks, there's more than that. If you're willing to work fewer than 40 hours a week, then you can do that math. But let's just say for simplicity, it's about $50 an hour is what you want your time to be worth. Now that is if every single hour all year is fully booked, is fully productive. And for a lot of people, that's not the case when you're just starting. So you need to figure out what is your time worth every hour as a starting point, and then probably round up from there. So let's say your ideal, if you're fully booked, is $50 an hour. If you're half booked, maybe it's $100 an hour. And so somewhere in that range is what your time is going to be worth in order to make that salary for yourself. So now you know what your time is worth. You can do that simple math. Number two, you need to figure out if you get started down this path, how long will it take you to break even? Like, what is your break even cost, or what is your minimum salary? So you've got your goal salary up here at the top. Your minimum salary, let's say, is your rent, your groceries, the things that you can't live without. Maybe that's $30,000. So ideally, you want to make $50 an hour or $100,000 a year. Worst case scenario, you've got to make 30 grand a year. That's what would allow you to quit your job or focus on this new business idea. And maybe let's say that works out to $20 an hour. So you've got something between $20 and $50 an hour, and you've got you've got the ideal and you've got the worst case scenario. So now, how do you figure out how long it'll take you to break even? Well, if you start to pursue this idea, how long would it take you to be up and running in order to make that $30,000 a year or that $20 an hour? You've got to do that math and say, if I do this, if I've got a product that I'm selling, how many do I need to sell in order to get myself to that minimum threshold, and how long is it going to take me? Or if I've got a service, like maybe it's a massage service or something like that, and you're going to do $100 massages. Well, how many massages do you need to do a week in order to hit your minimum number? So now you've got what your time is worth, you've got kind of a range that you want, and you've got your break-even analysis of, if I can ramp up to 10 massages a week or something, this should take me 2 months to get up and running from ground zero. Now you want to know what's best case scenario. So let's say you knock it out of the park and you're fully booked, your calendar 40 hours a week or 50 hours a week or 60 hours a week, you're doing this service or this product and whatever you're doing. What is your full capacity? 100%. So I've got an uncle, for instance, that has a stained glass shop, and I did this with him a few years ago, and I said, how when you're fully busy, you've got the biggest job you've ever booked, how long does it take you to do that job? Now, let's say you were booked out the rest of the year with those exact same jobs. What is the top line limit to what you could possibly do by yourself? And so you set that range for yourself, and you say, okay, ideally I want to make 100 grand. Minimum, I need to make 30 grand. Best case scenario with this idea, me just working myself, I can make 200,000 or 250,000. Now you look at that and you see that range and you say, okay, it would take me a few months to ramp up to minimum. Do I have enough savings to do that? Now it'll take me this amount of time to ramp up to ideal. Does that make sense based on what I could get if I just started a salary, if I was working a job? And then this is best case scenario. Let's say I busted myself for years trying to get to best case scenario. Does that payoff feel worth it to me? Then you can have a pretty good frame of reference for if this business idea is worth pursuing. Now, of course, if you've got an idea that is just off the charts, like if this works out, it's millions and millions of dollars, then that could be really exciting. But you might have to put in years and years and years of time to just get to that break even, that minimum point, and you might not be able to do that. If you've got an idea that you can get to the minimum livable salary in a short amount of time and it's got huge upside potential, that's a great idea. So you're looking for the gap between that break even, how long is it going to take me to get to break even, and a massive upside potential that you can continue to pursue for years and years and years. That makes the perfect business idea. So that's how I would go about it. Hopefully that helps you. Leave comments below, and if you like this, subscribe to the channel. I'm talking about more startup and scale up advice for small and growing businesses.